Well, Celebrate Recovery, if you didn't know, is so much more than just an adult ministry. It's actually a family ministry. And today we have an amazing Celebration Place director here at our Rogers campus going to share with us a little bit about Celebration Place. You're not going to want to miss it.
Recovery can be hard, but it's worth it. There is hope knowing we can find healing one step at a time with Jesus and healthy community. Whether you're struggling with a hurt or a hang-up or a habit, you're not alone. During this podcast, we share real stories, practical tools, and powerful truths that inspire you to keep moving forward. No matter where you are on your journey, there's hope ahead. So stick with us as we walk this path together through Celebrate Recovery.
Well, hey, Sylvia. So glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here on the podcast. And so I'm going to introduce myself. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus. I struggle with sexual addiction, codependency, food issues, and pride. And my name is Michael, helping lead our Celebrate Recovery campus ministry here at Rogers. And we have Sylvia with us today who helps lead our Celebration Place. Sylvia, you want to introduce yourself as you do in recovery for us?
Sure. I am also a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I struggle with codependency, pride, and food issues. And I get the blessing of being the director of Celebration Place.
Yes.
And
so
for a lot of
I was going to say, how many years have you been leading Celebration Place?
Well, so I've been with our local CR now for 22 years, and we launched Celebration Place 16 years ago.
That is crazy.
We've actually been doing that curriculum for that long now.
And if you all didn't know this as well, Sylvia, you also serve as the national representative kind of leader of Celebration Place for all of Celebrate Recovery.
Yes.
Now, how long have you been doing that?
I've been on the team for over 10 years, but I've been the actual director for the last 5 or so.
Yeah.
Something like that.
What does that look like week to week, like month to month, like in that national kind of CP capacity?
Well, more than anything, we're just support for CPs across the nation and world. Actually, we've got CPs in Sweden and Africa, just all over.
Wow.
It's really cool.
That's really cool.
More than anything, we're just, I have a team of a dozen other people who help me, and we are just support for ministries. We help them launch as they're, just if they're starting out. And then if they're just been in there for a while and having struggles and needing some help, we are totally support for that.
Like, hey, I need help, or what do I do? I have this situation, or how do I handle this? It's like you and your team help support them, which is really cool.
Right.
So Sweden and Africa, wow.
Yeah.
That's really sweet. Yeah. Okay, so let's imagine I'm someone and I'm tuning into the podcast and I go, wait, Celebration Play? Wait, kids? Wait, I thought our Celebrate Recovery was just for adults. So So what is, if you were to kind of summarize just like, what is Celebration Place? What's the goal of Celebration Place? And then we can also maybe get into even just, and maybe in the second half of the podcast or whatever, but what does that practically look like week to week? But in general, like if I'm someone who does not know anything about CP, how would you explain that and what it is?
So basically, Celebration Place is the elementary curriculum for CR, where we have Celebration Place, the landing for students as well, and then the adult ministry. So we're all part of the same ministry. The goal of Celebration Place is to start teaching kids about their emotions, how to cope with emotions, and how to not turn to the things of the world when the emotions are hard. So we teach them about that anger is a valid emotion, and you're allowed to be angry, and that's okay.
But, in fact, if you're not angry about something, then maybe it's like that may not be healthy.
Exactly. But what are you going to do with that? If you are in a situation where you get very angry, you can make a choice as to whether to handle it in a healthy way or in a bad way. And you're going to deal with the repercussions of that. So we're just focused on what we call kind of pre-covery. We're teaching them about their emotions and about the things that can happen, but in an age-appropriate way and with fun and games, and we make it to where they want to come and have fun, but they're learning alongside their parents. And so if the parents are doing a lesson on relapse, which is a big word for kids.
Yeah, it's like if I'm 5 years old, I relapse.
Relapse, yeah.
Yeah.
But we're actually playing games and showing them things that kind of teach what that's about without going into what relapse looks like for an adult.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything that's not age appropriate.
Yeah.
But we're still focusing so that when families leave that night, they can continue the conversation. We send them home with a journal page that talks about
That's
what
really
we've
cool.
learned, and we prompt the parents to talk about a time when this happened to you.
Yeah.
And so that they hopefully will continue talking about it at home.
It's so much more than like, I know we've talked about this a little bit. I've heard you talk about this. It's so much more than childcare, right? And, for those of you that are just listening, I'm kind of air quotes here, it's like, because I've heard people say that it's like, well, we just need a place for childcare, and you saying that, it's like, it's so much more robust than that. It's so much more than that, and so is it really like any age kid through for our CR? I know every CR has quite somewhat little differences of where that cutoff is from maybe, elementary to middle to junior high or whatever.
Sure.
For us, what age groups is it?
Well, our local campus, we only go to fourth grade. We go kindergarten to fourth grade for this curriculum specifically. Yeah. We keep the younger kids, of course, but they don't do the same thing because they couldn't really understand the concepts.
Yeah,
but,
totally.
But other campuses, our Fayetteville campus goes through sixth grade. And it across when it was first created, they said kindergarten through sixth grade. The thing is, that was 16 years ago.
Yeah.
Kids are different.
Yeah.
They're maturing way quicker than they used to. And so we here have been blessed because we have so many kids and so many leaders. We've been able to separate and have the fifth and sixth graders do something different. But
be a part of the landing ministry.
But in most ministries, they have those older kids kind of work as helpers.
Yeah.
So they're still learning, but they're helping the younger kids who might struggle with writing their thoughts on the journal and things like that.
It's kind of like the step 12, principle 8,
Right.
It's like teaching those kids to do that, which that's really cool. And I know at our landing here, we're actually going to talk next week with Justin, who is over our landing here, and talk about, he's really passionate about getting some of the older kids, 11th and 12th graders, to kind of pour into the 5th and 6th graders, and so that's really, really cool. So now this may sound like a silly question, because I think there's some obvious like this, this is why it's important, but for you, why is Celebration Place so important? Like, why are you so passionate? I mean, you've been doing it for 20 years, and so it's like, why have you stuck around with it? Why do you see the value in Celebration Place?
Well, I mean, I could answer personally probably easier than I can for just what the ministry is about. But for our family specifically, when I first came on board, I just had weekends free. I didn't know anything about recovery. I did not come into this thinking I needed recovery. I had no clue. I came in and did a job.
Yep.
And at the beginning, we were just making it fun so that the kids wanted to come back so they'd bring their parents back. And that was our whole goal.
Yeah.
And then when we launched the Celebration Place curriculum, I started learning more about what CR was.
Yeah.
Instead of it just being me planning Bible-related things.
Totally.
And so after a couple of years of doing that, I actually went to a CR summit and listened to all the adult content and was like, oh, wait, I'm one of those people.
You're like, wait a second.
I probably need to join a step study.
I relate with that.
I need to do some work. And then over the years, right about that same time, we actually took in our great niece and nephew.
Wow.
And who were in foster care.
Yeah.
And our family dynamic changed, and we had a lot of trauma coming in.
Yeah.
And my older girls had been through CP and were moving on to the landing at that point. But the younger kids came in, and I saw what it was doing for my kids when they came in with such anger and anxieties and things.
Yeah.
And to see them start working through their stuff in a way that was healthy and appropriate. And in some ways, I felt like CP helped them more than all the counseling we were getting them.
Yeah.
Just truly because they really were able to put their hope in Christ and not in the things of the world. And they started appreciating things a little bit more. And then our older girls, because they had the landing, since they had all of a sudden trauma introduced to them for the first time,
it's just like,
they were able to work through with some people who would keep their secrets and keep, not secrets, but, confidentiality.
And be safe.
And let them be able to be honest and say, I don't like my mom right now because she's so focused on these young kids, even though they loved the kids, but that was real. It was hard for them.
Yeah.
So it was really, I think, so impactful to me then. And my husband came on board too, because he started hearing us talk more and more about it.
Yeah.
He started helping at the landing and realized that he needed to be getting some recovery. And he's very okay with me sharing all this. So I'm just going to say, he got into a step study and started working through some issues and identified some things. And so overall, it just literally changed our whole family's dynamic.
Really cool.
And we started wanting to help other families and other ministries. So as there was an opportunity for me to get involved in a bigger level, I did, and I just can't imagine not doing it.
There was like this common language that you all had, to be able to communicate, and and like even some of those guidelines of I and me. Hey, just focus on your thoughts and and like, I can imagine as a young kid. I mean, like selfishness is just part of like we're all born with that. Like we're all just completely focused on ourselves, and it's a learned skill to be able to turn that focus to others, or even focus on ourselves in a way that goes, how am I impacting those around me, and that kind of stuff. And so that's really cool of that. It impacted your family and started with your kids, and then it almost kind of trickled outwards in seeing their growth and their ability to have a safe place. And so one of the things that I was going to ask you, and then we'll take a quick break after that, but I could see a parent, or I could see someone going, well, like my kid doesn't really have a lot of struggles or issues. Like they're pretty good kids. Like, I don't really know if I need to bring them to Celebration Place, or why would I bring them, And so what would be like your response to that? Like, how would you have that because I know you've had that conversation, I'm sure, with parents. And
well, my response would be your kids are going to live in the world.
Yeah.
And they're going to have trauma and they're going to have things happen.
Yeah.
Going back to my family, our older two didn't have any trauma. They were in CP because it was my job and it was fun for them to go, and they loved it. They didn't know they were getting pre-covery. Again, I did the air quotes just like you said.
Yeah.
But when this all started happening with bringing in the younger ones, that truly was trauma for our entire family.
Yeah.
So that was a time where they had those tools already in place.
Yeah.
And so they were able to cope better with their emotions, and they knew they had a safe place to go to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so I would say things are going to happen in your life, and we want our kids to be prepared
not a matter
for that.
of if, it's when.
Exactly. So it's not, don't look at it as your child needs recovery to come. Look at it as let's give them tools for their future.
Yeah. I love that.
Imagine if you had those tools.
Oh.
What would have looked different in your life?
Yeah.
Had you not chosen the things of the world to help you feel better.
Yeah. And it's like, I think I've heard you say this too. It's just like, there's almost this mission of Celebration Place to put CR adults out of business.
Exactly.
And it's like, I love that though. It's like, man, like what if we had a generation of young kids who know how to have healthy coping mechanisms when life slaps them in the face,
right?
And so that's really good. Well, I'm loving this conversation. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to Hope in Recovery, a Fellowship Celebrate Recovery podcast that shares life-change stories and recovery topics, all centered around the CR principles based on the Beatitudes in Matthew chapter 5. In the Beatitudes, Jesus gives us incredible tools to help us face our hurts and hang-ups, those lies we believe about ourselves, God, and others, and even our circumstances. He helps us to ultimately tackle those defenses and protections we call habits that cause chaos in our relationship with God and others. Our prayer is that you find hope and healing for your mental, spiritual, emotional, and relational journey as you listen. Now join Rodney Holmstrom for another episode filled with hope and encouragement for all of us on the road to recovery.
All right, we're back here. I'm really enjoying this conversation, talking about Celebration Place. I don't have any kids yet, but my wife and I, are, Lord willing, we'll have kids one day. And, it gets me excited about thinking, man, I want my kids to be a part of this and to really understand and learn about their emotions. And, often I use this phrase. I used to be a choir director, and one of my favorite songs is this song, called It Takes a Whole Village. And so the idea is it takes a whole village to raise our children. It takes a whole village to raise one child. Everyone must share the burden. Everyone must share the joy. And so just that concept of like raising kids takes a village, man. Like if I as a parent, it's all on me to, then it's like, it's probably not going to happen. But if I have a celebration place, if I have my home church, if I have, me and my wife working at home to do, it's like, man. And so what does it practically look like? What are some of the things? Because I think about, I've never been in a classroom for Celebration Place, but so what does it look like to teach a kid about relapse? Or what are some of those practical kind of week-to-week tools what does it look like, boots on the ground, working with students and kids in that recovery, kind of pre-covery setting?
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, we have a lot of leaders. We're very blessed that we have a lot of people who love kids and they want to hang out and play with them. So they get the kids in the room. We have some free time, playtime, just time for getting to know each other if there's new kids and whatnot. And then we go straight into worship. Mm-hmm. We have a time of worship, and it looks different in all the different churches across the nation.
Totally. There's some variation.
What fits there for that church.
Yeah.
I always tell people, do what works in your four walls.
Yeah.
And so ours might even look different from one week to the next.
Mm-hmm. And there are like certain DNA pieces. I'm sure it's like,
sure.
We need to follow these. It needs to be CR material. But as far as, I always talk about form and function.
Right.
The form, the function is the same, but the form will look differently.
Right. And the worship is a DNA piece because we want kids to understand how to worship. And some of our kids have never been in church before.
Yeah.
So that's a DNA piece, but how you do it is totally up to the church. Mm-hmm. But then there is a teaching of some sort. It could be a video. It could be act out a scene from the Bible. There's lots of different ways that we do the teachings. Mm-hmm. But then after the teaching time, we go into times of centers and small group time and different things. And some of that can be done in different orders. But just to kind of give you an example of how we teach an adult concept, I thought I'd go over one of our a couple of centers out of one of the lessons. And so this is a men's. Great. And, you think, again, kids don't hear. They might be told by their parents, say, you're sorry.
Yeah.
But they don't really understand what amends
I've
mean.
done something wrong. I need to make amends. But, like with a kid, like what does that look like?
So for example, one of the centers that we do is called Toppled Tower, and you use kind of Jenga blocks and sticky notes, and you give each of the kids a block and you tell them to put somebody on there that they need to forgive for something. Yeah. Or be forgiven for, sorry. Yeah. So, and they can draw a picture. They don't have to put a word. It's up to them. They get to decide what they do. But it says, have the kids each write the name of someone they need to forgive on the note. Everyone will see the blocks, so kids can draw a picture instead if they want, collect them up, and then start stacking the blocks to make a tower. As you talk about, when we don't forgive, we actually block the healing that God wants to give us. And we read Acts 8:21-23, and then say, not forgiving can cause bitterness inside us, and that's like poison that eats away at us. And like the scripture said, the bitterness can make us captives to sin. And then we knock over the block tower. Yeah. So we get interactive with it, and we can let the kids do that again if they want to. And so it becomes play, but it also teaches them about the idea of that. So there's lots of examples, of course.
There's usually I used to be a teacher, and so there's kind of that. They talk about like the best kind of teaching engages like multiple senses at once, the kinesthetic, all the different kind of, so it's like, that's really cool.
Yeah. So, and then another one is we can fix it. You need to bring something that's broken. So we'll bring in a broken item that's obviously broken and show it to the kids and ask, how would you fix this? What tools would you need? What experts would you need to get help from, or what else, and then afterwards say, tonight, the person you came with is learning about making amends. Basically, the people in Celebrate Recovery are learning how to do repair work on broken relationships. What kind of things do you think they'll need that are similar to what we need to fix our broken item? Yeah. And then we say one big thing they need is encouragement. It's tough and sometimes scary to fix broken relationships. How could we encourage the people we came with to keep doing their best? So we're encouraging the kids to encourage their parents or whoever brought them. and we give them ideas, or help challenge them to come up with ideas of how they can do that through the week.
That's really cool.
It is.
And the idea, like, I think too, of teaching kids as well, of like, hey, like, here's a broken object. I understand that. But then there can also be broken things inside of me, or broken things inside of other people, or broken things inside of our parents. And there's broken relationships. And like, that's a really important understanding. Our brokenness is that first step of understanding we need a savior,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then what I love, my favorite part of all of the curriculum is the journal sheet that goes home, because I do, we talk a lot about breaking the cycle, and we need to work together. The parents need to understand what their kids have been a part of through whatever their challenges they're going through, without going into specifics, obviously, but knowing that if there's trauma in the home, the kids are feeling something,
Yeah.
So we send home every week, we send home a journal page that has the key verse from, and this, for the amends one that we just did, it's happy are the merciful and happy are the peacemakers, Matthew 5:7-9. And it says, this week at Celebration Place, your child learned what it means to make amends, making something right with someone we've hurt. We all sin sometimes, so we all need to ask for forgiveness and make amends when we do. Children learn that God wants them to encourage and forgive others who are trying to make amends. Not forgiving causes bitterness inside, which can make us captives to sin. Parents, tell your child about something you broke and tried to fix.
That's really cool.
If you still have it, such as a dented automobile or a cell phone that went through the wash or something like that, show it to your child and tell your child how you tried to fix it and whether you were successful or not. Then tell your child how it feels to have God's help when it comes to fixing things in your life. And then there's a prayer that's written out for them to pray together.
So there's like it's almost like helping parents be better parents. It's like, hey, like, here's some tools of like how to engage your kid and have these, it sets the table to have those conversations with your kids. And that's really, really cool.
Yep. That's one of my favorite parts. For sure.
Yeah. And it's like, I think too, of like, especially if, I am, if I'm a parent and I'm struggling with a lot of different things, and then a piece of it is the adult and the CP, the curriculum sort of line up, and so there's kind of this element of, theoretically, the parent just got done hearing about the amends lesson or forgiveness lesson, and then when they're on the drive home or whenever, they have the journal sheet, and it's like they're talking to their kids about amends and forgiveness, and so it's like you're almost, as a family, walking through some of those pieces together.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I'm sure there's too many to count, but what are some cool God moments you've seen in the past 20 plus years of just how he's worked and hearing from how he's worked in your life? Like that's the best kind of story, is the ones that we get to live out and see God's grace and mercy in our own lives and recovery. But even just the people you've seen come through, what are some cool God moments you've seen in Celebration Place?
Well, and you're right. There's so many, and I was really trying to think of what would be impactful to share. And, of course, I hear all the time from different ministries and different people that a parent was going to relapse, but their child said, I want to go back to that Friday night church or whatever they called it, because they wanted to learn more. They had so much fun, and the parent chooses, because of the child, to come back and doesn't relapse. So that's hugely important. But one of our local stories that I just have always held on to so much, because it has been so many years of our ministry, is we had a little girl who, when she first came, she was maybe 3 or 4 years old. Yeah. And she could cuss and spit and kick better than any adult.
She was intense.
She was mad at the world, and she showed it. But we kind of have this concept in our ministry that we can do anything for 2 hours. And so if it means one of us is just sitting with her and letting her scream and whatever out of the way for a while, we're going to try and do that to keep the parent not having to come out to get their child.
Yeah.
So we had a few years of, she'd have some good nights, and then she'd have some really hard nights. And then a couple years into her being actually in the elementary age group and working through some of this stuff, you could just see things clicking with her over the years. But then the night that it really just kind of, I mean, we all just broke down that night, is she was in small group time and there was a new child there. And when it was time for him to share, because we do small group and the kids get to talk, you know, we go around the circle.
Oh, that's really cool.
It's definitely different than an adult small group open share, but we do have our own guidelines.
Yeah.
We share with the kids every week, and we talk about, it's not okay to talk when your friend is talking, and we try to kind of start that. So we're really trying to, like I said, pre-covery. We're teaching them all the things early.
Try to focus
right?
Yeah.
But we also are really cool if there's a crosstalk situation that is necessary for kids, and we're not going to stress about that. Yeah. So this new kid said he's just sharing and was sad and said, my dad's in jail and it's just hard. And this little girl's dad had been in jail for a long time.
Wow.
And so she had a lot of years of getting used to that and knowing, that yes, it's hard or whatever, but she got up and she walked around and sat down next to him and put her arm around him and said, my dad's in jail too. It's okay to be sad. And of course, all the adults in the room are done at that point and just bawling, and the kids don't understand why that's such a huge moment. But we've watched her come through being the angry, not wanting to do anything. And I'm crying now. Sorry.
I know. So, I'm tearing up
even
too.
Now, and I've told this story so many times, but it's just so indicative of what can happen if kids are allowed to feel their feelings and work through them in a healthy way.
Yeah. That's so powerful. And that is, I'm going to get kind of fellowship language a little bit here, but just that's like a produce and release. It really is. It's this girl who came in broken, and because of what you guys do, and because we have Celebration Place, and because there's that safety and that structure, and she probably didn't realize she was learning tools.
Sure.
But then all of a sudden, it clicks in that moment. And for her, I'm sure it was, I'm here to help love, not just what's going on with me, but the people around me. And to go up to that kid and go, I know what that feels like. Yeah. That's just the goal right there.
Exactly.
And so, man, that's really, really powerful. Thanks for sharing that. And to me, that's why would you not want to send your kids to be a part of Celebration Place, And so, again, I know we're biased, but, that's a really cool, sweet moment. Any other kind of final thoughts you have, Sylvia, just in general about Celebration Place and encouraging people to hey, bring your kids. This is a family ministry. We want to help you grow as a family.
I think just, understanding that it's kind of the same as the adults. We're not here to fix kids. We're not trained, licensed anything.
Yeah.
We are people who love kids and love Jesus. And we know that if they know him better, then their lives can be easier. Yeah. And we're not guaranteeing they won't still go through hard stuff. They're gonna, all kids do at some point, but they will be better equipped and just have the tools to turn to Jesus, hopefully, instead of what the world offers them.
That's really cool. Well, thanks, Sylvia, for jumping in with this conversation with me. It was a huge blessing. I feel like I learned a lot and feel very encouraged. So yeah, if you are a man or a woman with kids in your lives, I want to encourage you. Come check out Celebration Place. I love how Sylvia just said it. We're not trying to fix them. In fact, we're not trying to fix you guys. We're directing you towards the person who can fix it all, Jesus Christ. And so every single Friday night, Rogers campus, Fayetteville campus, meal at 6, 7 o'clock, we have our large group. Bring the kids over to Celebration Place a few minutes before that and get them checked in, and they'll have a safe place to process their hurts and their hangups and their habits, and get tools to be able to face the ones that will come up. And so thank you guys for listening. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a blessed week, and we'll see you this Friday.